Okay, this is Greg Peck here, Los Paseos neighborhood for 52 years, and want to welcome you all to the last quarterly meeting of the Los Paseos Neighborhood Association. All of you who showed up, I really appreciate you being here, and I hope you can take home and share with your friends and neighbors what you hear tonight about what's going on in our local area. Thank you, Lieutenant, for being here. I see somebody, John Liepelt from Baskin Ridge Neighborhood Association. Welcome you all. Thank you all for being here.
Greg, you want to start recording?
Yes, I would start recording. Thank you for the reminder. This meeting will be recorded, and I'll record it to my computer, and we'll eventually let it be known to the all of our members. Thank you. Thank you, Zach, for being here. This meeting is being recorded, and our agenda tonight. Oh boy. We will be approving the agenda. I believe if there's anybody that has a problem with the agenda or would like to amend it, let us know at this moment. We'll be running through the LPNA business. Barbara will run us through that. The District 10 Council Office is giving us inputs that we can read to you. The office is pretty sick right now. Their people are not feeling well, and the council member has a committee meeting tonight, so he will not be able to join us. And Sergeant Gary, thank you for being here. Will give us an update. Supervisor Arenas' office, Vicky Lamb, will give us a little update on what's going on in the zoning ordinance in Coyote Valley. And Alice Kaufman will join us soon to give us a little bit more information on Coyote Valley and the water line that's going into Morgan Hill. Then we'll join the meeting. So to start with, we'd like to, as we said, is there any objections to the agenda or changes? All right, let's move to LPNA business. Barbara, go ahead.
Okay. So at our December meeting, we have to elect our officers for the next year. We had no additional people nominated themselves. So the existing people are willing to continue for another term. Our president, Greg Peck, who you've been hearing from, and Karen Latin. Karen, do you want to just wave your hand? All right. Karen is has a sore throat and is not speaking today. I'm the treasurer, Barbara Knapp. The secretary is Lynn Steele. Lynn,
hello?
You there?
I'm here.
Right. And Alan Chan is the member at large. He's also our webmaster and technical expert. And Herb Bowen is also a member at large. I don't know whether he is called in tonight.
Nope.
So we're going to do this election. Go back, Greg. Go back. We haven't done the election yet. Arrow up.
Yeah, arrow up didn't work, so.
Oh.
There you go.
Okay. So we do this by general consent. So if anyone has any objection or wants to abstain from voting for any one of the people on this list, please put a comment in the chat or unmute yourself and speak up, and I'll give you just a couple of moments to respond, and if there is anybody who has any problem with anybody on this slate. And hearing and seeing, many thanks. Okay.
Thank you, Mary.
Given that we don't hear any objections, we declare the above people elected for another year. All right.
Yay.
Okay, Greg.
Congratulations, gang.
Next slide, Greg. Okay, quick park update. We've been talking for a while about a rose garden that we were planning. But after doing more research and getting more input, we've determined that rose gardens require more water, more infrastructure, more maintenance. And what other parks are doing mostly is putting in butterfly gardens. And we think that that's a more admirable thing and more feasible to do. So we are readjusting our plans and working on a butterfly garden, which the work will not much is going to happen until after the holidays. So January, February, March, we'll be working on the butterfly garden, and we definitely can use additional volunteers in terms of ideas for which plants to plant, and then we will need volunteers to help with the planting, etc. So next slide, Greg. So we just had our holiday event on December 6th. It was a big event. We had a very good turnout. We co-host this with the HOA, the Los Paseos HOA, who let us use their clubhouse. We had crafts for kids, lots of Santa pictures. The fire department came. Somebody got to ring a bell. And our council member, George Casey, came. You see him there in the lower right with Greg and Greg's Santa hat or Christmas hat. And unfortunately, as Greg said, he is not able to be with us tonight because he has a conflicting meeting. So we expect we'll be doing this again next year. We have money in the grant again next year to support this. So if you didn't come this year, come next year.
Barbara, before you go on,
Yes?
I just want to thank Alan. You did an excellent job on the photography this year.
Yes, these are all
Really good.
Alan's pictures.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next slide.
Okay. I was regarding this event, the kids got a real charge out of it. I was in the room, and when the fire truck drove up, some of the kids walked out the door and started screaming at the top of their lungs, like, wow, let's go get on there. And they were allowed to get into the fire truck and play around with the knobs and all this and that. It was a very good experience for them. And we're going to do it again next year. Thank you. Next slide.
Okay, normally we would give you meeting dates, but we are working on, we can plan to continue doing quarterly meetings, but we're working on confirming venues. The library is a little awkward because of the construction in the area. We're working on confirming venues and dates, and in January we'll let you know. But our next meeting is expected to be in March, as it has been for the last couple of years. And that, I believe, is the end of the LPNA business. So now we go on to the District 10 Council office. And as we said, they're not able to be here with us tonight, but have given us some information. So Greg, if you go on to the next slide, we'll talk about this. So we asked about the proposed cemetery in Coyote Valley, and they don't have any new information on it. It's under environmental review, but Alice Kaufman will be joining us, and from Green Foothills, and she will discuss the issue in a good bit of detail. So another question was preparations for the Super Bowl, anything we need to know about, security plans, etc. And Yema attached another document, so go to the next slide and we'll see what you put on that. I didn't include all the detail, but there'll be a range of events. There'll be an opening night celebration at the convention center downtown on either the 27th or 28th of January, February 1st to 10th. There'll be community events in various places, concerts, watch parties, cultural events tied to the game. Most of those will be downtown or in the area of the stadium. So they don't directly affect us, but expect roads will be disrupted, etc. Then legacy programming after the event, they don't have much detail on that at the moment, so we're not sure what that's going to involve. I think they're hoping that they'll get a lot of groups coming forward to host things to continue the joy. Security plans. The security is a multifaceted effort led by Santa Clara County, the NFL, Bay Area Host Committee, with San Jose receiving direct funding for staffing and infrastructure. So San Jose's budget does not have to pay for the security related to this event. Greg? Okay. The next question is on homelessness and housing. Is there anything to update for Rufurari or operations at Via del Oro? And Hammond did not have any current updates on Rufurari. There will be an update for Via del Oro on a soon to be had meeting of the Greg, what does the CAC stand for? It's a community group that's community advisory.
Community Action Committee.
Right. And so they will be meeting with Home First and getting an update at that point. So subsequent to that meeting, we may have more information on the situation at Via del Oro, which is now in operation.
Karen and I attend those meetings routinely.
Right. So then another specific question we asked was about addressing homelessness on routes 85 and 87 with Caltrans, and that has been a concern with departments pointing fingers. But apparently there's been an improvement. Encampments along 85 and Almaden Expressway, Blossom Hill behind the Walmart Supercenter have been cleared by CHP, Highway Patrol, over the last week and a half. And we haven't heard from residents on whether these locations have been re-encamped since, which is something that tends to happen. Another point, and the Assistant Deputy Director for Caltrans District 4 has been appointed by the Governor to the Encampments Program Director. His name is Byron Lim, and this is beneficial from our point of view in that in terms of state actions moving forward, there's now someone with decades of experience abating encampments in South San Jose who have more authority on state encampment operations. So that is a positive point looking forward. Next slide, Greg. These are resources that Emma wanted to give for residents who have need of these resources, especially if they want to make an OWL referral. I'm not sure what OWL is. I think this relates to individual situations.
Those are the warming centers. I can't remember what it stands for, but the
warming
W
centers.
is for warming centers,
Okay.
warming location.
So the resources on the screen are calling 211 United Way Bay Area for Health and Human Services in Santa Clara County, calling the County of Santa Clara, where there's a call center hotline, 408-385-2400 for assistance. And there is also a Home First homeless helpline. And there's an email address for that, the OWL referrals at homefirstscc.org for information on the overnight warming locations. And I think, Greg, I think that's it.
Yep.
Can I ask, what is the referral for? To suggest a location for a warming location?
No, I think it's if you see someone in need and think and how or know of somebody that needs a referral to get it. That's Greg, would that be your understanding?
Yes.
So they will go out and they will find that person and let them know about the OWL?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And if you'd like further information on that later on, I can't remember, see who was asking that question. You can give me a call. I think you might, I'm not sure if you know my phone number or not.
That was me.
It
That
was
was Chris.
Kristen.
I know
Kristen
you.
Oh, Kristen. Oh, Kristen.
I got your
Hi
number
there.
for sure,
Hi.
Greg.
Hi there, Kristen. Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is the SJPD update. Do we have a,
Yes, he was Lieutenant Thompson. You're muted if you want to.
Still muted. Still muted. You're still muted. There we
How's
go.
that?
That's better.
Okay,
Lieutenant, do you mind if I spotlight you here?
sure.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Good evening, and as you know, my name is Lieutenant Thompson, and I'm here on behalf of Captain Payne tonight. I'm one of the Southern Division lieutenants. I currently work swing shift, and I work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays out in Southern Division. The statistics that Captain Payne provided me with was 0 homicides, and the time frame here is from the middle of September until today. 0 homicides. There was 1 sexual assault, 3 aggravated assaults, and there was actually a complaint filed on 2 of them. There's 0 robberies. There was two burglaries that were commercial, both at a shopping center. There's 2 residential burglaries and 4 vehicle burglaries, and there were no accidents with injuries reported. That's the most up to date statistics that we have. Were there any questions?
I have a question regarding when you say burglaries and so forth. As you might know through watching social media, there's a lot of things being stolen off people's porches and yards nowadays and things of that nature. What, in your opinion, or the city's opinion, is the best way to mitigate that? And also, how do you address it when it does happen? Because I know the police department doesn't have the time to come out and take a look at one incident of that nature. Can you address that a little bit in terms of what's going on? What do you, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So what obviously what we recommend is to try and not have packages left out on
Yeah.
your porch. You could put instructions sometimes to the delivery. Sometimes they could put things behind a gate. Some people will allow Amazon or FedEx to have a code to their garage where they could put things in the garage. If that's not available to you, there are boxes that you could purchase for your porch that you could lock, and there's a universal key that a lot of the delivery companies have. They could put things in there. Also, if that doesn't work for you, we recommend having a communication with your neighbors, which is what I personally do. If I have a package delivered when I'm not home, I try and contact my neighbors, and I have a good relationship with them, and they'll bring their package in for me, or sometimes they'll put it in my backyard. Those are just a few things you could do to try and prevent someone from stealing a package.
Yeah.
As far as what we do, when we get those reports, if there is any suspect information, or if there's video that will help us identify a suspect or a suspect car, we do conduct follow-up on those.
Thank you. I noticed there's another thing that Amazon offers. You can have your packages delivered to various locations. There's one right over here at Staples. There's one at Lucky's. They call them pickup points. There's lockers.
Yeah, those lockers, if you've seen them, they're bright yellow lockers. They even, some 7-Elevens have them there. Whole Foods has it inside of the store. Some of the Whole Foods grocery stores will have it inside. So that's another option that works out really well. If you just have it delivered there instead of your home, then you don't risk your package being stolen.
Yeah.
So Mary asked a question about where is it just in our division down here or neighborhood those statistics came from?
Those statistics are just in this neighborhood here.
Okay, very good. And then we've had gang activity. You know, we're getting spray paints again. Is Captain Steve talking to the principal over there, or do we have the gang units? Before summer, we had 2 kids with guns and somebody selling drugs. So has anybody addressed that?
At the school, I've talked to Captain Payne a little bit about that. I know that it kind of faded away a little bit during the summertime, some of the graffiti. I don't have an update for you for any graffiti at the school. I haven't been made aware of anything like that. As far as the narcotics, where did you have a location specifically that you were concerned with or that you'd heard of?
Well, we just had all the incidents where the 2 guns were found on the 14-year-olds or whoever they were, and then there were some kid with narcotics, and then they spray painted our building again. Alan, when was that? A week or 2 ago?
The restroom building that got sprayed last week.
December 2nd.
Okay.
So
I-
it's starting up again. So if you
Okay.
guys, Captain Payne, and you guys could follow up with the principal, we want to get, especially if guys are carrying guns. I don't want it in the park. Got little
Yeah,
kids and stuff.
I'll reach out to Captain Payne with those concerns for you and have him give you an update on those, or I'll let him know. So if you want to reach out to him, I'll let him know so that way he's prepared to
All
respond.
right. Yeah, let him know, and I can call him tomorrow whenever.
Okay.
I
Great.
mean, are the gang units? Is the gang unit working this area? Do we have any other areas? I know Cottle's got a big problem up there. So is the gang unit, working the area is a question.
Yeah, they work in the area. We're as you know, we're stat driven, so we try and move resources to where the problems are, and so if you let us know that this is occurring, we could kind of move the resources around. But we do have officers in our gang unit who are proactively out in this area. I do hear them on the radio.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed I've seen a couple officers, just doing drive-bys around the school, and that's very helpful, especially when the people are driving crazy and we got kids around. So if you could ask the beat cops to maybe, during the morning and the afternoon, just swing by, that's very helpful.
Sure. Yes. I can let my swing shift officers know, and then I'm going to pass on this information to Captain Payne, and that way he could let the day shift officers know as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Go ahead, Mary.
Thank you, Lieutenant Thompson. Thanks, Greg. Just information for my neighbors. I had my bike stolen from in front of American Barbell Club. I might have been one of the burglaries that Lieutenant Thompson just cited. It was in the Lucky Shopping Center. In any event, I talked to the owner of American Barbell. The cable was cut and it was zipped away on a scooter. One of the patrons saw the scooter rider taking my bike away, but we couldn't catch him. I talked to the owner of American Barbell and asked about cameras in the whole Lucky Shopping Center. And he said that there are no cameras in Lucky Shopping Center, that the whole development most of the development was purchased in September by a new owner, and that the new owner is planning on putting in cameras around our shopping center in 2026. And FYI, you might have seen them sprucing up the old Sweet Tomatoes location. They're gonna hopefully be putting in a proper restaurant there with a liquor license and the whole bit. So anyway, just a little bit of information I learned recently about the neighborhood.
Yeah, thank you, Mary, for that update. Lieutenant, do you have anything else?
No, that's it. Just like to thank you guys for having me. And if there's are there any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
There were some gentlemen in front of the middle school today, maybe the elementary, I don't know, but the middle school, handing out Bibles and chocolates to kids. What are the rules? Are strangers allowed to do that to kids under 18?
Well, there's are specific rules for people who would be on. Was this on school property?
No, they stayed on the sidewalk.
Okay. Yeah, there's some specific rules for being on school property. I'm not familiar with exactly where they were. If this
They
continues,
were right on Via Vista, the sidewalk in front of Murphy.
okay. Yeah, as long as without me going out there or contacting them and kind of seeing exactly what they were doing, as long as they're not blocking the sidewalk and blocking the path of people on the sidewalk, it's difficult for us to try and remove them from the sidewalk. Have you reached out to the school administration to see if they had any contact with these people, or if they allowed them to be there? For example, sometimes people will come to the school and then say, "Hey, could we ask for permission to be on property?" The school will say no, but you could go out to the sidewalk. So I don't know if the school did that or not.
Actually, I work at the school, and
Okay.
and I knew that they did tell us they were going to do it,
Okay.
but they were on the sidewalk. But parents did call to say, "What the heck? They're handing out Bibles and chocolates." But all I knew was they were not on officially school property,
Okay.
but they were at the point of the crosswalk.
Yeah.
So about blocking the sidewalk, I don't know.
Okay.
So they weren't on school property, but it just seems weird that people can just hand out things to kids.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I could let Captain Payne know that this is an issue, but from what you're explaining to me, it doesn't seem like there's any violations as long as they're on the sidewalk and they aren't blocking anyone. It might be good to pass on a message at the school to the teachers and have it passed on to the students that obviously in any situation there or anywhere, not to take candy, not to take chocolates or anything like that from people, and just remind them that if they encounter these people, just be polite. They don't want anything to do with them. Just tell them no, thank you, and continue on their way. That's kind of my recommendation right now. I'll talk to Captain Payne and see if he has any other ideas. But if they do come on the property, that's where you can't be on the property of the school without permission of the school.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, they stopped by the very beginning of the year and said at some point we're going to be handing out Bibles.
Okay.
You said just you can't be on school property, and
Yeah.
then we didn't see them until today. They showed up.
Okay.
Kristen, I'll call you about that. I want to talk to you about that a little bit later, some other time.
Yeah, Kristen, mine's her Bowen, and I got my email there. Send myself and Greg a note if these guys show up, and some of us can go and check it out.
Okay, thanks.
And then we need your contact to help us out at Martin Murphy with some of the issues. So if you could do that, that'd be great.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Greg has my contact information.
All
Okay,
right.
that'd be great. Appreciate it.
All right. I think that's it, Lieutenant.
Okay. Well, thank you. You guys have a good evening, and I hope you enjoy the holidays coming up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a
Thank
safe
you.
one.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
So share my screen again, Barbara.
Yeah, Greg, go and share. And I think next we have Vicky Lamb from the Office of Supervisor Sylvia Arenas. And she's going to give us an update on this new rural zoning ordinance that will have some kind of, we're not really sure what the impact is, but it sounds like it will have impact on areas of Coyote Valley and around the county. It's impacts on wineries and things like that. And so she's going to kind of explain what that is all about. It just got passed, I believe. Well, she'll tell you about it. Go ahead, Vicky.
Hi, everyone. I know typically David from our office attends your meetings, but he is spending some time with family right now, which he very much deserves. But I know I've met a couple of you before out in the field. My name is Vicky Lamb, and I'm Supervisor Arenas' senior policy aide. I cover housing, land use, environment, and transportation related issues for the supervisor. And I'm also a fellow South San Jose resident, so I'm also a neighbor. I went to Burnell Middle School, Burnell Intermediate School growing up, and I also went to Santa Teresa High School, so very much know this area pretty well. But yeah, I'm super happy to be here this evening to share information on the proposed rural zoning ordinance and on Supervisor Arenas' referral in response to the planning department's proposed updates. I think Greg, did you
Oh.
want me to share my screen or?
Hold on, Vicky. Let me see if I got the right one here.
No worries.
No, I don't get the right one here. I got lost in this shuffle.
You're so good. Don't worry.
If you can share your screen, that would be good.
You might need to make her co-host. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll do that.
We had a couple of renditions of the slideshows, Vicky, so last minute
Got it.
changes that got
That would make sense.
mixed up.
Um,
You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Hold up. Let me make it into presentation mode real quick so you guys can see it a little bit bigger.
Just start the slideshow from the beginning.
Got it. Alrighty. Right.
So Vicky, if you click that little see where the zoom is down at the bottom? If you
No.
click to the right to the left of that, there's a
No,
little
go, hold on a second. Click the from beginning in the upper left, that one. Click that.
Got it. Is it big now?
Yeah,
or-
there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Awesome. Okay. Give me a
So welcome,
second.
Vicky. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thanks for your patience. I really appreciate it. All right. Let me pull up my notes real quick and then I'll get started. Mm, All right. Sorry about that. All right, so as you all know, I know you guys all pretty huge advocates for our open spaces, but over the past 3 decades, Santa Clara County has seen the loss of over 21,000 acres of farmland, with an additional 28,000 acres currently at risk of conversion in the near future. And as a region once recognized as the Valley of Heart's Delight for its vibrant agricultural history, the planning department's goal with the proposed rural zoning ordinance was to essentially safeguard our existing open space and farmlands, including Coyote Valley, of course. However, staff's original proposals was not done in consultation with our rural community. So our small farms, our wineries and other agricultural businesses. So when county administration introduced the first draft of the rural zoning ordinance, it was clear to Supervisor Arenas that she wouldn't support the proposed changes in its current form without input from the agricultural community. It was especially clear when our office received hundreds of emails concerning the ordinance and during the public meetings that the planning department hosted, which resulted in hundreds of farmers, horse owners, winery owners who showed up expressing really deep concerns about how the proposed amendments would cripple their businesses and ultimately impact their livelihoods. There's so much we have to learn from our agricultural businesses here in Santa Clara County. And I know usually people go up to Napa for their wineries, but but a lot of people don't realize how many wineries we have down in South County, and also in Los Gatos area too. But yeah, we have over 1,000 farms. We have over 50 wineries and thousands of acres of ranches here in Santa Clara County, with the majority of them in the south part of our county, which includes, of course, South San Jose, Coyote Valley, Morgan Hill, San Martin, and Gilroy. And as the county supervisor representing parts of our county that will be most impacted by those draft zoning amendments, Supervisor Arenas definitely wanted to make sure that those updates actually reflected the highly specialized needs of our rural community. But before I dive into Supervisor Arenas' response to the proposed draft ordinance, I wanted to give a high-level overview of what the planning department was originally proposing, which was really concerning to the ag community. And just a disclaimer, although I cover planning-related policies for the supervisor, I'm not a planner. So I'll be reporting on the concerns that we heard from our community. But the main goal of the draft ordinance was to simplify and standardize agricultural uses and limit the uses in ag zones to support long-term agricultural viability. And unfortunately, there were some unintended consequences to small farms. For example, the definition of on-site agriculture was really concerning to some of our small farms. It wouldn't have been met by our small farms due to, one, livestock not being counted, and of course, on-site ag required to be contiguous. So that would not be feasible. That would not be physically feasible after accounting for septic field or water tanks or driveways, etc. And it would have also required over cultivation beyond what a small farm can or needs to cultivate. And it also doesn't really create a viable startup pathway for our new farmers. And there were also some unintended consequences to our wineries as well. So on the screen right now, you see what the planning department was originally proposing. And right now, wineries would have moved from being allowed by right to requiring permits if they were not in compliance with code. And unfortunately, we heard from a lot of our smaller wineries that the permit costs would have been really prohibitive, potentially forcing closures. And while staff verbally committed to the existing wineries being grandfathered in, our wineries were still a little bit concerned because they didn't really know what that entailed. So they wanted to have that sort of in writing, and then a little bit more detail on what was going to be grandfathered in. And lastly, our equine community and ranches were very, very concerned because in the draft ordinance, horses were not considered as livestock. So in response to the draft ordinance, Supervisor Arenas and our team released a referral outlining a revised version for how the draft ordinance should proceed. And basically the referral called for a widespread community process that takes into account the voices of agricultural, vintner, which is another word for winery, religious, equine, and stakeholder groups, and incorporation of the community feedback that was received during all of the public meetings and all the emails that came in, and delivering a dramatically improved draft that supports the success of agricultural endeavors. And because the concept of, because the equine policy was never actually supposed to be included in the rural zoning policy, our referral actually also asked that we separate the equine policy from the rural zoning ordinance amendments and have that be a completely different process. And then another thing that we asked for in the referral was a new code compliance policy, including an amnesty program that considers a streamlined permitting process to reduce the costs to agricultural businesses. And you can read the full referral at the link down below. But I wanted to sort of talk about next steps in regards to this referral and what that all pretty much means. The referral is really lengthy. It goes into very fine point details about what the small farms and wineries were asking for. But we also wanted to make sure it was reasonable, because even though we really support all of our agricultural businesses, we definitely want to make sure that's fair to everyone. So the next steps of the referral is that in spring of 2026, the planning department will report back to our housing, land use, environment, and transportation committee with options to explore and implement each of the items identified in our referral. So included in that referral, to ensure that we get all of the feedback from our agricultural committee, we wanted them to come back with options to create an agricultural task force that will vet future drafts of the ordinance. And then also incorporating policy requests from the community, like I mentioned before, which would include preserving farm stands by right and ensuring horses are considered livestock, allowing the use of shipping containers as agricultural storage. That was a huge one that we heard from both the wineries and the farms. And then also developing a program allowing existing wineries to be grandfathered in and more. And additionally, in spring, planning department's also going to be reporting back on the new code compliance policy that I mentioned, that would actually support our agricultural businesses. And yeah, by resetting the rural zoning amendment process to incorporate community feedback before it's released, rather than having the draft be released and then getting the community feedback, we're really hoping that we create policy that will support and protect our generations of agricultural families, wineries, and more. And one thing that was also included in the motion when the Board of Supervisors approved the referral was that one seat of the agricultural task force will also include environmental stakeholder as well. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I have. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, and I'll try my best to my ability to answer it. Thank you so much. Yeah, Karen?
Yeah, I have a question. So that's a lot of, language that is rather, I don't want to say vague, but for us, I think my interest in this whole policy and the reason I asked you to come and present was to get a better understanding of, with the changes that Supervisor Arenas has suggested, how is that going to impact current and new businesses? And let me give you some examples. Okay, we have Spina Farm.
Right.
They do the annual pumpkin. They close their farm stand, but let's say somebody else wants to open a farm stand there or somewhere else. Are they going to be able to do that?
Yes, they definitely would be able to do that, just within they would have to apply for the correct permitting to be able to do all that.
Okay, and what if you purchase a home in Coyote Valley? I guess is it separate issue is what part is city and what part is county. But let's say it's county land. That you purchase a rural home property in Coyote Valley on the county land, and you want to open a small family and winery where you're getting grapes from offsite?
hmm
Are you going to be able to do that?
It depends, of course, on like the zoning of the area. You can basically do all that you can right now. It was just costs, potential business owners, the fees that are included when you apply for certain permits.
Okay, so one of the things I heard that was very disturbing, um, I happened to this year I got one of those. It's this deck of cards you get from the wineries. You get to go to all the wineries and you get to do wine tasting. So I kind of got into the wineries
Love
this
it.
season. And then I started hearing about all this stuff. Like a lot of them were talking about closing down. They were saying they can't do entertainment. They can't do, most all wineries have music, and it's what do you call it? It's not just acoustic. It's music that's uh, via speakers. So yeah, that page I can't really read. So are they gonna still be able to do those kind of events, or are those getting eliminated?
So right now, it seems like everything is kind of at a pause in terms of the rural zoning updates. Just given the fact that we asked for basically a reset of the planning process. So right now, they can do what they're currently doing, unless
Until January, is what I hear.
no, not until January, because the ordinance hasn't been adopted yet.
Okay.
The only thing that has been adopted is the resetting of the planning process to um, draft these to draft the ordinance.
Vicky,
If that
can
makes
you
sense.
stop your share, please? Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, can I get a copy of that part, that purple sheet?
Yeah.
Because I'm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so how would we, if we're interested in this, how do we provide our inputs on things? What are the opportunities
Yeah,
to do that?
I can definitely keep you updated. I know you're very interested in this, Karen, so I'll be sure to add you to our really extensive mailing list on updates on how to participate in the upcoming outreach process.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Alice?
Oh,
I
yeah,
think,
thanks.
yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Is it okay? Should I start?
Well, we were going to introduce you. So
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody.
Alice Kaufman is with Green Foothills, and we had her. We've asked her to come and give us an update on some of the things that are happening in Coyote Valley, like the cemetery proposal. There's a water line being proposed from Great Oaks Water all the way down to Morgan Hill. And then you might have some input on this rural ordinance as well. If you do, then
Yeah.
we'd be happy to hear that.
That's what I was gonna
take it away.
Yes. Sorry. And I was just gonna thanks Vicky very much for your presentation and for the information. And I was just going to sort of like jump into I mean, Vicky, I think you mentioned this, but I just want to just like reemphasize, nothing has been approved. Like, these ordinance amendments have not been passed. And it was in fact, Supervisor Reynos's referral that kind of like said we need to go back to the drawing board because of the things that you mentioned, Karen, with like the wineries would be concerned about how this was impacting their businesses, the horse facilities were concerned. And I mean, and I agree with with Vicky's assessment that like it's unfortunate that there wasn't more outreach done ahead of time. I think that there was I'm a little bit of this is speculation, but I think that among planning there was some urgency felt to get what are currently some very vague and subjective development standards. It's called the local serving standard, which is like done by like looking at other recently approved things and going, well, is it like about in line with that or not? And that led to a lot of confusion and difficulty. And so they wanted to go to an objective standard and they wanted to do it quickly. So they were trying to get it done quickly, but as part of that, there was, I think, it was unintended consequences. They were not intending to put people out of business, but the end result now is that they need to start over. So the thing that I wanted to say, and I'm sorry, I basically kind of repeated a lot of what Vicky just said, but like for you, Karen, or anybody else here who has concerns about this, like you have the opportunity to get involved, you know, like because there's going to be a whole new suite of public outreach and meetings and stuff like that. So, you know, if you have concerns, then, you know, this is your opportunity to get involved on those. So that's all.
Thanks, Alice.
Yeah.
So Vicky, did you have anything else that you wanted to update us on? Any brief, and then we can turn it over to Alice to do the rest. I think you were going to talk about some other things, Alice, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
So,
think that's all I have on my end. But if
okay.
anybody wants to come celebrate the holidays with us, the supervisor is having our inaugural posada event down in Gilroy. There's going to be some free food. I believe there's going to be some tamales and some live performances. So you are absolutely welcome to attend. It's going to be on December 19th in Gilroy at the Neon Exchange. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Can you send us the flyer for that, Vicky?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it sounded fun. I read about it. It sounded really fun. Okay, well, we'll go back to Alice then, and we'll let her do the rest of her talk about the other items that she's going to give us updates on.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Alice Kaufman, and I'm the Policy and Advocacy Director with Green Foothills. And Karen asked, and Greg and folks asked me to come here tonight to give an update on what's going on in Coyote Valley. And there's actually, as I started to think about this and, you know, create my presentation and everything, I realized like, oh, there's actually a bunch of things going on that, you know, you guys might be interested in. Karen mentioned a couple of them, but there are others as well. There's some builders remedy projects that are happening in and near Coyote Valley, and other stuff going on. So just let me just share my screen. Oh, of course, I'm not set up for that. Hang on a second. Let me get my presentation pulled up. Okay. There we go. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Beginning of the presentation? Okay, great. All right, so let me just jump right in. So one of the things that I want to talk about is the city of San Jose for the past 3 or 4 years has been going through a proposed plan called the Monterey Road Corridor Study. And this was about looking into potential additional commercial and recreational uses along Monterey Road through Coyote Valley. And this was initiated by the City Council. Actually, some of you might remember that back in 2021, that was when the City Council voted to change the zoning in Coyote Valley from industrial to agricultural and open space. They at the same time that they did that, they said, well, but we've got these landowners along Monterey Road who, for the most part, have these smaller parcels. They're not farming on them. We're changing the zoning to agriculture, but at the same time, let's look and see if there are some other types of uses that would not be environmentally harmful. That was very important. They emphasized that. They want to make sure that they were not like, undoing the environmental protections that they were putting in place at that time. So there was this sort of balance that city staff was supposed to find. And I'll be frank, I believe, and to be honest, like a couple of the planners and consultants had said as much, in phone calls and meetings, that was really kind of an impossible task, that there really was no way to allow this expanded commercial uses on Monterey Road without impacting the environmental protections. And the reason for that is, you can see it in this image, which I think was created by Open Space Authority. So you can see how Monterey Road is right here. And then you see this blue line, this is Coyote Creek. So you can see how it runs for the most part, like right next to Monterey Road. And the reason that that's important is that Coyote Creek is basically like the backbone of the wildlife corridor through Coyote Valley. Like the way that animals get from Santa Cruz Mountains over to the Diablo Range, they don't go on Bailey. They don't go boop ba doop ba doop ba doop ba doop and just go right over there, right? They stick to the creeks for the most part because that's where the trees are. That's where the cover is. So if you're a prey animal, that's how you hide from predators. And if you're a predator, that's frankly where you go to find the prey. So they're going, like for the most part along the Fisher Creek corridor or maybe down from the hills over here. And then they would go like if Fisher Creek connects to Coyote Creek, goes under Monterey Road right there. And then they would travel along Coyote Creek here and then get under 101. There's actually a bunch of culverts and so on that they can get under 101. 101 is more permeable to wildlife, ironically, than Monterey Road. But anyway, the point is that if you had increased development along Monterey Road, that really was going to have a lot of impact on the viability of Coyote Creek as a wildlife corridor. You can imagine like if there were like outdoor beer gardens or other things going on, you would have more activity, you would have nighttime lighting, you would probably have like trash and food that attracts more predators and so on. And it's just like, it's just all conservation biologists would agree that is a bad thing. You don't want it to happen. So, and we were making all of these arguments, all the environmental groups, we were pointing this out. And so the upshot, let me just go to my next slide. So what was going on here was that the landowners were pushing for the most expansive plan possible. Understandably, they're thinking about their profit here. But one of the things that they were pushing for was the residential subdivisions on there. There was, for example, a 220-acre parcel that's just north of Morgan Hill. It's currently a cherry orchard, but the landowners were interested in having development there, and like a giant residential subdivision is kind of not compatible with with protecting wildlife habitat. So they were pushing for that. We, of course, were pointing out all the problems with that. And then in addition to that, there were just existing constraints in the laws and the regulations. All of the parcels were outside of San Jose's urban service area, meaning that, there was no service, like urban services like water, sewer, but also things like police protection, fire protection, that's just outside of the jurisdiction of those San Jose departments. So they were outside the urban service area, and they were also outside the urban growth boundary, which means the urban growth boundary is Palm Avenue is basically the dividing line there. So a lot of the parcels, certainly the larger parcels like this 220-acre parcel, were outside of the urban growth boundary. Everything south of Palm Avenue, in between there and Morgan Hill, is supposed to stay rural in character. It's not supposed to have intense urban development. You've got some homes there, obviously, but it's still primarily rural. This was the problem. And then in spring of this year, the city was going through their budget, and there were financial problems that they were trying to solve, as pretty much every city, in the area and probably beyond the area. But this area is what I know about. Every city was going through these financial problems. So the planning department proposed dropping numerous projects. There's a chart that I saw in a memo somewhere, but it was pretty extensive. But one of them they proposed dropping was the Monterey Corridor study, and they mentioned the opposition from environmental groups as a reason why it was just like really difficult for this to move forward, because nobody could agree on what should happen there. And I should say that the study is officially deferred, not like completely erased. But it would have to, it's not going to go forward until somebody puts it into the budget and proposes that this should go forward. And just realistically, at least at this point, there is not the political will to prioritize this. Obviously San Jose has a whole lot of pressing needs that they should be working on. Building enough housing is a big one that comes to mind. That's the focus of the general plan update they're doing right now. So so we're treating this as just gone. Obviously landowners who want to profit are not going to give up on that. But we're hoping that for at least some of the landowners there, they will consider, talking to Open Space Authority about selling some land to them, because Open Space Authority is very interested in acquiring land along Monterey Corridor because they want to do wildlife crossings like underneath Monterey Road. And so, they're very willing to buy land from some of these landowners. And so I would hope that if any of them are just tired of this endless fight to try to get development approved, maybe they'll be willing to, cut their losses and sell their land for conservation. And I mean, and that was a lot. And I see some things happening in the chat. I see some the number there in the chat is increasing. I'm not going to click on that right now. So I'm going to just ask everybody to hold questions until I get done with this. And I can always go back if people want to look at something previously in the presentation. So switching gears, there are also some development threats in Coyote Valley from energy facilities. And the thing to keep in mind here is that for some of these, it's not going to be for all, but for some of these energy related facilities, it is not the city of San Jose or the county, if it were an unincorporated area, that has the land use approval. It's the state of California. So that is a challenge for advocacy groups like ours to to try to affect to influence those decisions, but we're not giving up on trying to do that. So one that is that we've been very engaged in is the terminal for the LS Power energy transmission line. So some of you might be aware there's this LS Power is this company that is constructing a huge new transmission line that's going to go all the way from north to south right through San Jose, and the ending is going to be at the PG&E substation at Metcalf Road. Okay, but LS Power is has been and is looking at a parcel in North Coyote Valley on Bailey Road that's about a mile south of the PG&E substation. They're looking at the possibility of putting the end of their line there. It's called a terminal. They would have to construct a building and some energy infrastructure and so on. And the reason that they're doing that is because when they first approached PG&E to ask if they could locate it at the Metcalf substation, which is the end of the line, PG&E didn't want to let them do that. They had space, but they were using it for like equipment storage, like a lay down yard for some of their equipment and so on. And they didn't want to do that. Well, the good news is that in recent months, PG&E has actually they've been in discussion with LS Power about whether they can do that, about whether they can let LS Power construct that facility on the Metcalf substation site rather than a mile south in Coyote Valley. The main sticking point is, where is PG&E going to store the equipment that they've been storing on site? But it doesn't have to be at the site. It could be anywhere of a number of other places. So my understanding is that PG&E is like looking at other sites, and it kind of like hinges on whether they can find a site that works for them. So but ultimately, as I have here on the slide, the lead agency for CEQA for this project is the CPUC, Public Utilities Commission. It's not the city of San Jose. But because LS Power they are very interested in being able to put this terminal on the Metcalf substation, because it will be cheaper for them to do it there, because they won't have to run it a mile south and then back again. We are hopeful that this is going to work out. So fingers crossed that everything is going to work out. We are not part of those discussions, so I can't give you like up to the minute information, but I'm just letting you know what I have heard from LS. I've talked to the LS Power representative, and they, this is what they've said. So yeah, so that's the energy terminal. Then the other energy-related project is possibly a battery storage facility that would be on the property. It's actually the former Spina Farms pumpkin patch property. It's at the southeast corner of Bailey and Cemetary. So there's some land there that is usually in row crops, but the owners, I think there's like 3 different owners of those pieces of land. Again, they want to make a profit, and so they are working with a company called AES, which I think is based in Texas. They construct things like battery storage facilities, and so they're the developer for this project. And again, this would be approved not by the city of San Jose, but by the California Energy Commission, which is the state agency that approves battery storage facilities if they're big enough. If they were smaller, then it wouldn't come under the state jurisdiction. And what I understand, they've had conversations with a couple of the council members, including, I believe, Councilmember Campos's office, because it's in her district. So what I understand from her staff is that the developer is expecting to submit the application to the CEC in January. That's my information. It's about a month old, but that's the timeline that I was told at that point. Okay. Oh, and I just put this on the slide just so that I could show you where all of this stuff is. So just to orient you, here's Monterey Road. Here's Santa Teresa. Here is Bailey Avenue. So the LS Power Terminal, we want it to be at the Metcalf substation, which is this area here. The place where it would be if it were in Coyote Valley is like right here. It's like on this part of Monterey Road. There's an orchard actually on the site right now. And then the battery storage facility that I was talking about would be on this parcel right here. Okay. All right. Okay, moving on. Karen, did you want to say something?
Well, if you don't mind, because it is about that topic, about both of those topics. One is there's this, I don't know if it's called a substation, but it's right next to Coyote. Where's that place? It's like a
Coyote
venue.
Ranch.
Coyote Ranch, yeah, and it's got a bunch of power. What is
Yeah.
that, and why can't they do it there? I mean,
No, that is the Metcalf substation. Yeah,
Can you
that's
go
where they
back-
want to do
Oh.
it.
Can you go back to your major overall slide?
This one,
next one.
the one with the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, this is like, so where's Coyote Ranch? I think it's like here. Yeah, somewhere around here. This is the PG&E substation. This is the Metcalf substation. Right here.
Yes, it's the green space south of the substation.
Yeah, and then this is Coyote Ranch. Yeah.
Oh, but there are already some power facilities there. So why
Yeah.
would that make it so bad?
I think PG&E just doesn't want to, like, they would have to find a new place to store their equipment.
No. I mean, why would
Oh.
it be so bad to use that other little substation?
Which
maybe
other
I'm
little
confused.
substation? Yeah, there is no other little substation.
Okay. I keep thinking of Metcalf. I'm thinking of the power, the other.
Oh, you're talking about the Metcalf Energy Center.
Yes.
Yes,
I
sorry,
guess
there's
I'm
more
getting
than-
it mixed up with that.
There's more than one thing called Metcalf because it's named after Metcalf.
Well, there's
Road. Yeah.
there's the power
This is-
plant, but next to it there's there's the power plant, but then
This
I
is the power
thought
plant.
in the same area was more of a substation-y thing right next to it, isn't there? Or no?
I don't know. There's like an outdoor RV and boat storage yard down here.
Okay, I must be getting them mixed up then.
Okay. Yeah, and this is, I think this is privately owned. So, I mean, the
Okay.
Metcalf Power Plant, I think, is a private company. I think. I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
I mean, that could be another option, but the best one would be to have it here because this substation is literally the end of the line of that like 13-mile long transmission line. So they would ideally like to have their terminal here, because otherwise, if it's down here, for example, they have to run an extra line all the way down here and then another one all the way back up. And that's going to be expensive and inefficient. So they would rather, it's called co-location. They would rather have it, co-located
Right.
on the substation because that's the end of the line. That's the end of the transmission line. Okay.
And then the second question was on the second topic of the battery
Yeah.
Can you explain to us why we wouldn't want that to happen? Why? What is
Okay.
that? How is that going to
Because
impact?
so there's, well, let me see. So there's a number of potential issues with battery storage facilities. For example, you might remember there was a battery storage facility in Moss Landing that caught fire back in
Oh, yes.
January
Yes.
and like rained like toxic stuff
Mhm.
down into the wetlands there.
Okay.
So, and I think Monterey County now has adopted, I think they've adopted an ordinance saying they don't want to have any battery storage facilities near either residents or like open space or farmland because of the potential for that kind of harm to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, and yes, and it's my opinion. I mean, battery storage facilities, it's an industrial use. It should go on industrial land. It should not go on open space or farmland. So that's a big reason why.
Thank you.
Marcia had a comment in the chat. Maybe you could address that.
I would like to get through all of this because I have more to talk about, and then I can come back.
Okay.
And then do questions. So
Alrighty.
yeah, and I can try to go faster. I mean, I know there's a lot to talk about here, but I can do it at more of a high level, I guess. Although this kind of is the big one. So the Heritage Oaks Cemetery is the cemetery that has been proposed right here. So this is this white space here is the site for the cemetery. And that might be, you can see it's directly north of the Coyote Valley Open Space Preserve, but I also put up this thing from Google Maps because it'll be easier to see the different roads. So again, it's right here. So it's basically like if you were driving along Bailey and toward heading west, and you looked up at the hills, you'd be looking right at where this would be. That's probably the easiest way to look at it. So it's so the backstory is this is a proposal for a cemetery that was approved, at least the rezoning for it was approved back in 2014, and we opposed that at the time because for various reasons. First of all, the part of the proposal was that they wanted to put in non-native turf grass, lawn, and irrigate it, pipe in water to irrigate it. And we said that seems both environmentally bad, to have non-native grass instead of native hillside habitat. And also, like, come on, we're asking San Jose residents to take out their lawns because of the water usage, because we were in a drought. And now we're going to approve, it was going to be like 70 some acres of irrigated turf grass for a cemetery. Why couldn't you just like leave the hills the way they are? Oh, that was another thing. They weren't going to leave the hills the way they are. They're going to, it's a very hilly area. There's some steep slopes, and they were going to do a lot of grading, shaving off the tops of the hillsides and filling in the gullies and kind of destroying the habitat. And so our attitude was like, if you decide you're going to put a cemetery in the hillsides, but you wish they weren't quite so hilly, maybe you should think about like finding a parcel that's not that hilly and put your cemetery there. Yeah, and then also just this is if you look at it here, you can easily see that this is going to be smack in the middle of, again, the wildlife corridor. All the animals that are up here we've got all this protected land in Calera County Park and all the way to the Santa Cruz Mountains, honestly, and they want to be able to go over the hills and go down here and then go through that wildlife corridor that I mentioned. And so this is going to like block it right off. They're going to put in private roads. There's going to be buildings. There's and then not to mention, like I said, just removing the habitat and putting in non-native grass, which, for most animals is like, that's just a desert, like they're not going to be able to find food there. It's not going to be the kind of habitat that they feel comfortable moving through. So, so it's just not going to have a good impact on wildlife. So yeah, okay, so like the EIR was approved back in 2014 to rezone the site for a cemetery. We fought at the time and we lost, but then they didn't apply for their permits for about 10 years, but then they submitted their permit application in 2023, and we said, well, it's been 10 years, and there's a lot of stuff that's happened during that time, including finding out a lot of new information about the importance of Coyote Valley for wildlife. And also there's a whole lot of land in Coyote Valley has now been protected. And so now that land is going to be impacted by having a cemetery right nearby. And so you should be studying all that. And so the city agreed, and they decided to do a supplemental EIR, which is not the same thing as a full EIR. And I'm sorry if you don't know what EIR is, it's jargon, but I can explain that later. And so that supplemental EIR is expected out. It could happen as early as next week, or it could come out in early January. So we're hoping that it does not come out before the holidays, but the planning department has told us that if it does, they'll allow extra time for folks to comment if they want to. And here under the concerns, you can see blocking wildlife movement through Coyote Valley, grading and filling over 100 acres of the hillsides, 75 acres of irrigated non-native turf grass. Oh, and a crematorium. That's something that's new that wasn't studied in the 2014 EIRs. They're going to do a crematorium, and that could possibly have air quality impacts. All right, again, I know I'm just plowing through this, but we can come back and do questions later. So there's a couple of builders remedy projects in Coyote Valley that you all should be aware of. So there's one that's on Palm Avenue, which like here, so this is Santa Teresa, this is Monterey, and this is Palm Avenue. And Palm Avenue is the street that leads to the Coyote Valley Open Space Preserve. If you've ever gone hiking there, you turn on Palm Avenue to go that way. And so the parcel where the Builders Remedy project has been proposed is right here. That's about 15 acres, and there are 16 homes proposed there. It's right across from the grass farm, which is, again, if you've driven down Palm Avenue, you've seen like just these expanses of lawn grass with sprinklers going, and so it's across from there. That's where it is. So it's a rural parcel. It's zoned agriculture. It's got prime farmland soils. It's also got other hazards. It's in a liquefaction zone, meaning that it could be very hazardous in an earthquake. And it's just not a place where we should be developing. So that is one. And if you don't know what a builder's remedy project is, it's the builder's remedy is a state law that says that under certain circumstances, residential projects can be proposed on land that is not zoned for residential. In this case, farmland. So and the city can't stop it, and the county can't stop it. But it still has to go through CEQA. It still has to go through environmental review process. So that could potentially be a factor in whether or not the project happens. And then there's another builder's remedy project on Burnett Avenue, just outside of Morgan Hill. So both of these are in the unincorporated county area, by the way. This one is right across the street from Sobrato High School, if you know where that is. It's the proposal is for 838 homes, so that's quite a lot. That is a very dense project that's being proposed. It's on a site that currently has greenhouses on it. It's the Kalahara Nursery, again, if you're familiar with the area. Since it is outside Morgan Hill, they cannot use city water and sewer services. So they have applied to Great Oaks Water Company to extend a water line 2 miles south along Monterey Road to serve this project. And the CPUC, the California Public Utilities Commission, is going to have to approve that water line. And that's going to be, we expect that to be going to a hearing to determine whether that is an appropriate thing to do. It feels like it is not an appropriate thing to do. I mean, it's extending services far outside of the area that Great Oaks currently serves. And this site, again, is like right on the border of Morgan Hill. So the appropriate thing for them to do if they want to get water and sewer services is to ask the city to annex them. They don't want to do that. They don't think that the city will want to do that. So they would prefer to go this other route. Yeah, so that's what they've asked to do, and we'll see what happens with that. And so then just what's next on all of these things. So with the LS Power transmission line, the final EIR is expected soon. As I mentioned, we're hoping, fingers crossed, to hear that the talks between LS Power and PG&E are progressing. We're hoping that those are going to go well. The AES battery storage facility, the application to the CEC is expected in January. according to the what they've told the council offices. The Heritage Oak Cemetery, when the supplemental EIR comes out, we need public comment. Hoping all of you guys will be interested in doing that, and you can sign up to get alerts on the Green Foothills website, and then we'll tell you when that EIR comes out. And then the Builders Remedy projects, like I said, those have to go through the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, and we don't know when that will start, but it will probably be sometime next year. And let me stop sharing. And thank you all for bearing with me through all of that.
Thank you for all of that. It was a lot of good information. Appreciate it.
And I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chats. So let me just try to answer these questions. Oh, Mary, thank you. Thanks for, yes. And I guess you're talking about the Monterey Court. Yes, that it sounds like a win. It feels like a win, at least for now. Yes, I agree with that. And then Marcia has a question. Battery storage would take up the entire location. I don't know the answer to that. The application hasn't been submitted, so we don't know how big it's going to be. We'll have to see. And then the Moss Landing fire. Yes, there were stories. There were and have been stories. And yeah, I think the Mercury News ran something about the heavy metals they found in Elkhorn Slough. Which is a really important wetland and wildlife area. And Ronald, any news about IBM's Almaden Research Property and nearby Builders Remedy projects? I don't know anything about the IBM Almaden Research Center property. I haven't heard anything more about that. Ronald, I know you and I had some email exchanges about that. I don't know anything more about that. I haven't heard anything. And as far as I know, there's no Builders Remedy projects proposed on that property. I don't think they could anyway, because I think that's in the city, and the city's not vulnerable to Builders Remedy anymore. Karen.
So one of the things about that water line is, okay, so if that water line goes in, right now, there's kind of there's that whole, the things you talked about earlier, the green belt, the lines where urban, what's it called? The urban line,
the urban growth boundary, yeah.
Urban growth boundary. And part of that urban growth boundary is because there aren't city services, whether that's water, sewer, etc. And so if Great Oaks extends this line, that will no longer be the case, right? Because that water line can be used for anything along the corridor after that, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it would
open up to a lot of
yes,
that
for
would no
sure.
longer be part of the reasoning for not allowing large home developments along Monterey Corridor, because water and sewage is one of the issues, and that will go away. So then it would only be things like the extending fire service or police services would still be an argument against it.
Yeah,
but the water would go away.
Yeah, it is very concerning to us for that reason. And I mean, the city of San Jose doesn't want that to happen either. I mean, it's in their general plan now that we don't have development in Coyote Valley. And they also, just from an economic perspective, I mean, sprawl is expensive. Providing just just the police and the fire protection is just, you'd have to cover that much more territory. You have to maintain the roads. You have to do all this other stuff. So just purely from a physical point of view, nobody wants this. Nobody wants this fault, except of course for the developers. So. And
Great Oaks Water.
Right, yeah, presumably, like they're, the more customers they have, the more revenue they have. So yeah, so I think they're perfectly, well, they've applied to the CPUC to be able to extend the line, so they're in favor of it.
I have a related question, Alice. Oh, senior moment, it's gone. Oh, who bears the cost of the line, and could it affect the ratepayers of the rest of Great Oak's customers?
That is a very good question. That's a question that we raised to the CPUC when we objected to the line going in. It was just, yes, somebody has to pay for that, and that is not going to be cheap. And you can imagine, just like imagine the construction to go all it's 2 miles. It's actually more than 2 miles. I think it might be 2.5 from where they are right now, all the way down Monterey Road to just the northern border of Morgan Hill. It's like all the way down there. They're gonna have to dig it up, and they're gonna have to put it, yeah, that's not gonna be cheap. So I don't know who's gonna pay for it, but that is certainly a valid question, is would the cost be passed on to Great Oaks ratepayers?
That could be something we asked during the road down a piece here
Yep.
during public comment.
Anybody else have any questions for Alice?
Why doesn't the new housing development being proposed for the water want to be annexed by Morgan Hill?
Well, so I can only tell you what they've said, or what I've read in their letters from their lawyers, because they've got lawyers. They've got some very aggressive lawyers, I will tell you. They're throwing their weight around quite a lot, threatening the county, for example, for if they don't look like they're going to approve the project. It's kind of gross, frankly, the way they're behaving. But what their lawyers' letters say is that, they basically say that they do not think that Morgan Hill really will annex them. And Morgan Hill said, we're basically, they went to Morgan Hill and they said, will you extend urban services outside of the city limits? And Morgan Hill said, no, we don't do that. The way to go about that is for you to apply for annexation. We have a process for that. At the same time, they said, like, our general plan does not contemplate annexing this property in the near future, right? They have their own plan for growth, and that is not part of it. And so basically the developers, what they've said in these letters is that, Morgan Hill is being, that they're being hypocritical, essentially, and just like saying, oh, you need to apply for annexation, but they're saying, well, we know you don't really want to do that, sort of thing, or you've made it clear you don't really want to do that. And and of course Morgan Hill's like, we did not say that, we told you what was in our general plan, but that we've told you that this is the correct avenue for you to follow, is for you to apply for annexation. We do not extend urban services outside of the city. We just don't. So that's where it is, and why they've made the decisions they've made, and whether they really believe, what they've put in their letters, I don't know.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question. Mary raised her hand again. Go ahead, Mary.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Alice. Again, information for my neighbors. I've recently been appointed to Authority's Citizens Advisory Committee. And in that capacity, one of my jobs is to gather information from my neighbors about how we feel about a lot of the things that Alice is talking about here, and bringing that back and representing all of us to the Open Space Authority. So maybe at our next meeting, Greg, maybe I could do a quick, either ask a question and get sort of thumbs up, thumbs down from all of you, or present a little bit of information. We are also talking about, in the Citizens Advisory Committee, everything that Alice just laid out. Ronald brought up the IBM Research Center property. Open Space also has its eyes on that property as well. And everything that Alice talked about. So that's just a heads up, and I'm going to put my email address in the chat in case anybody wants to reach out to me or has input that I should convey to the Open Space Authority. I'd be happy to do that, and I can give you more information.
Perfect.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Mary.
that might
Yes,
be an interesting presentation for one of our future meetings, Mary. We're always looking for, you know, speakers like Alice and Vicky that will provide information that's useful to our community. So yeah, that's great. Okay. Well, I think if that was our last speaker. I think we had Cortese's office, but I don't think they're here anymore. I was going to offer them to do an
Yeah.
update.
Yeah, Cortese.
Zach is still here.
Zach is here.
Oh, would you like to take a few minutes to give us any state updates, or is it
Yeah,
state?
totally. Very happy to, and I can be real quick. I think one thing since it kind of got brought up in Councilmember Casey's report that they sent in to you guys. I don't know if you saw, but the city of San Jose and Caltrans recently came to an agreement uh, to allow the city to do some of that encampment management and like abatements on Caltrans right of way. I would have to go look at the release. I believe it was like 12 to 15 different locations in the city. I believe one of them was 85 in Almaden, and there was a couple on 87. I have the full list. I can send that over to Greg afterwards if you guys are interested in learning where exactly that is. And the
Yes.
process for that would be, I think the city would ask for reimbursement from Caltrans for any work that they do on the state right of way. But from updates from our office, we got about 15 bills passed this year and signed into law by the governor. A couple big ones that we definitely want to highlight, especially we've been talking a lot about sort of open space, and part of that is definitely wildfire risk. And one thing that the senator did get passed and signed into law was for the state to develop its own wildfire risk model, which would sort of try and create a more public and transparent look at wildfire catastrophe models, like the types that your home insurers will use to set your rates and policies. Try and create like a little bit more information for homeowners on what your risk is like, and obviously that's going to be developed. And so I think some of the more specifics of what that could entail and what information that homeowners could use to either increase their defensible space or maybe go back to, or maybe the state Department of Insurance could use that information when they work with insurance companies on things like rate increases and stuff. And so that's one. And then another one. Where did I leave my notes? My apologies. Oh, yes. Was also to allow and expedite the process for cities, for example, to return shopping carts, abandoned shopping carts to the rightful shopping center. Previously, they had to have uh, um, a long impoundment period, which really uh, discourage cities from being able to do that process quickly. You know, they had to have transportation for it. They would have to have a site that's big enough to hold it. And so now, for example, if a city were to be doing an encampment abatement where maybe there's an abandoned shopping cart, they can return that to the shopping center a lot quicker and easier. The first bill was SB 429, and then that shopping cart one is SB 753. But if you have any other questions about other bills that the senator passed, I'm always happy to give that information to all you guys. And my email I'll put in the chat is zachary.contini@sen.ca.gov. And any questions about what I brought up right now, the Caltrans agreement, I don't handle transportation in our office, that's Mario. So I might have to get more info from him, but that was sort of the info I had right now about it.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Zach. Yeah, send us that information that you mentioned earlier send it to
Yeah.
me. Thank you.
Definitely will do.
Okay, are we, I think we've reached the end of our presentations, right?
And we finished before 9.
I
Oh
know,
my
it's a,
gosh.
a miracle.
Wow, that was exciting. Good
Thank-
information.
Good job, everybody.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks everybody who showed up, and I really appreciate you being here and hope you spread the information to your neighbors.
Yeah, we see a lot of new names.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thanks for joining, and you guys all have a very happy holiday season. Merry Christmas, and we'll be in touch in January with through our newsletter. If you, how do they sign up for our newsletter these days if our website is still broken? Which,
No, it's back up and running, and it's
okay.
at the bottom of the first page.
Okay, so if you're interested in getting our newsletter and you don't get it currently, then you can sign up on our website at, which is, let's see, I'll put it in there. www.lospaseosneighbors.com. That's our website. Okay, so thank you all, and we'll be in touch in the new year.
You all.
Hey,
Bye.
thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Thanks.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.